Maybe a milestone in the history of Africa.
The fastest growing VC space globally in 2022 was in Africa. Startups in the continent managed to raise $4.8 billion. However, this accounted for only 1.2% of the total global startup funding. A database on African VCs and startups shows that there were about 1,500 investors who had participated in at least one deal in recent years. In 2022, Launch Africa Ventures was one of the leading venture funds transacting at least one deal a week on average. This Mauritius-based firm launched a massive $36.3 million venture capital fund. The fund invested in over 110 startups across 21 African countries. Launch Africa usually backed seed and pre-Series A startups, investing about $250,000 to $300,000 on average. This is how much startups in each region in the continent attracted. West Africa attracted the largest share of startup funding, with Nigeria leading with $1.2 billion raised. Central Africa was the region where startups raised the least funding, with the Democratic Republic of Congo leading with around $39 million raised. In Southern Africa, South Africa led the region with $555 million raised. In Eastern Africa, Kenya was the only other market in Africa to have attracted over $1 billion in funding. And in Northern Africa, Egypt led with $823 million in funding. When looking at the different industries that attracted funding, Fintech accounted for the largest number of mega deals, that is, transactions over $100 million. But the sector had a negative 16% loss in share of funding between 2021 at around 58% and 2022 at around 42%. The mega deals show a critical sector in the continent, with the African Development Bank reporting, for sustained and inclusive growth targets, a great deal of innovation and thinking is needed to ensure that appropriate financial services and instruments are put in place for the benefit of the poor and other vulnerable groups. The mega deals in fintech were Flutterwave, MNT-Halan, Interswitch, and MFS Africa. When analyzing startup growth, local and regional legislations become crucial when startups ventures want to go into geographical expansion and talent acquisition. Nigeria launched a $618 million fund for young investors, the largest of any other African country to focus on startup. The first bill was drafted in June 2021, and in October 2022, the Nigerian president, Muhammadu Buhari, signed and passed the Nigerian Startup Act, NSA, into law. The bill was signed into law to create a conducive environment for Nigerian startups to launch and scale their products. Startups require both venture capital and favorable legislation to thrive, because they are highly dependent on external factors to establish and scale their businesses. Venture capital still plays a vital role in startup ecosystems by providing not only financial support, but also mentorship, networking opportunities, and strategic guidance.